Okay, so here's my visual aid, if you will, to help you with these linear regressions. Remember, you're going to launch your calculator and you're going to pick a spreadsheet. All right? And we're going to take this spreadsheet. I wish I could make that bigger. I apologize. I've got to figure out why that's not filling up the whole window. It should fill up the window. Can't seem to make it any bigger. But remember, you're going to take your spreadsheet and you're going to fill in your columns based on X and Y. So for my example here, I've got a year, and then I've got an enrollment. Let's just say this is an enrollment in a specific class. All right. Remember, sometimes you can put in the entire year, or we can say 1980 would be 0, 85 would be 5, 90 would be 10, 95 would be 15, and 2000 would be 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those values into my calculator. All right. And I'm going to try to make this so I can see both. There we go. And we said we're going to let this be 0. We're going to let this be 5. We're going to let this be 10. We're going to let this be 15. And we're going to let this be 20. Then I'll scroll back over and I'll put in the corresponding points. All right. So we said this was 14. This was 20. This was 22. This was 28. And this was 37. All right. So as you can see, and you just watch the way I'm toggling my keys. Remember, they're red. That's showing you exactly how I did this. And what I'll make this year, and I said I'll make this enroll for like enrollment. All right. And the way we did the linear regression is we put our cursor in C1. Cursor in C1. Then I go to Menu. I go to Statistics. I go to Stat Calculations, and I go to Linear Regression MX plus B. My X list, we said, was the year. My Y list is enroll. It's going to save my regression equation to F1. That's really important. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, it's going to have all of my statistics. Here's M and here's B. So the equation of my line right now, just by looking at this, here's M and here's B, my equation would be Y equals 1.8x, Y equals 1.08x, plus what I say B was 13.4, right? There they are, 13.4. But that's already in F1. So if I go and hit my menu key, excuse me, not my menu key, escape out of that. If I hit my Control Dock, escape out again, Control Dock to get a new page, and I add a graph, it's going to default to F2, but if I hit the up arrow, it'll go back to F1. There's F1. I'll go ahead, and I know it's in there. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to graph it, and I'm just going to zoom out of this, or I can zoom fit, all right, so that I can see the whole thing. Positive slope, all right. So let's say using this, I wanted to predict what it would have been in 1970, and let's say I want to predict what it is going to be in 2020, all right. So using my calculator that already has that equation in there, I can say 1970 would be 10 less than 0, that would be negative 10, and 2020 would be 20 more than that, which would make that 40. So those values are going to go in here for X, but I already have F1 in, so if I do F1 of 10 and I do F2 of 40, I'm going to get the answer. So if I come back over here now, and let's see, do I have a calculator? I don't think that's a calculator. No, it's not. All right, so I'm going to add a new calculator. So I'm going to go Control Dock and add a new calculator. All right, I can simply type in F1. All right, so I can say F1 of negative 10. All right, gives me 2.6. Enrollment would be 2.6 in 1970. And if I did F1 of 40, enrollment would be 56.6. All right, so in 1970 it would be 2.6, it would be 2.6, and this was 56.6. Now, you know, we usually, a lot of times what can be wrong with models is that if I went to like 1960, what would happen? Well, in 1960 I'd probably have a negative enrollment. We know that's not true. And what if I went to like 2100 or 2100? well, I'd have such a large enrollment, I'd probably never be able to teach the class. So sometimes, again, the linear isn't always the best, but for values that are, not too far off, or the values that are in between, it's a pretty good model. All right, use this to help you do the rest of the worksheet. There's 3 problems. I want you to do the same thing.